Hi, this is a video about Mercury retrograde, which starts tomorrow, the 13th of December, or it starts tonight, depending on where you're located in the world. So first of all, what is Mercury retrograde? It happens 3 times a year, sometimes 4, and it's when Mercury looks like or appears to be moving backwards in the skies. It is an optical illusion. However, the energetic effects are very real and have been noted for a very long time. And some of the things that Mercury retrograde can cause would be miscommunications, slip ups with travel, and that kind of thing. But it does give us an opportunity to review certain themes in our lives so that we can improve upon that. So, a lot of people fear this period. It really is nothing to fear. You can be educated on what this means and never fear it again, because it's absolutely an opportunity to get something right, to start a new project after it ends and after we get through the shadow period. So it ends on January the 1st, and we have the shadow period until January 20th. So it's not a good idea to do certain things during the retrograde and then afterwards into the shadow period. I'll get into what you shouldn't do and what you should do in a moment. So it starts at 8 degrees of Capricorn. Capricorn is an earth sign. It is ruled by Saturn. Then Mercury retrograde enters Sagittarius again on December 23rd. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. This Mercury retrograde is taking us through the realms of both Saturn and Jupiter. So there's a lot that can come together after this period is over. But when it enters Sagittarius is when it is going to become more difficult, because using the traditional essential dignities, Mercury is in detriment in Sagittarius. It's not really happy there. There can be a tendency to exaggerate or embellish the truth with this placement. Also, because Jupiter expands, there can be some problems that may become huge deals in our heads, when actually the reality is that it'll probably be fixed if there is a problem after January 20th. So our minds can absolutely run away with themselves during this period. First of all, Capricorn is a sign of order, discipline, productivity. It's also connected to finances, improving upon finances, climbing the ladder, status. So all of these themes we're going to experience those during the retrograde. Ultimately, this retrograde wants to get us to a place of stability. Capricorn is super stable. It's the archetype of the traditional father figure. So Sagittarius is when we are going to kind of work on the spiritual path, our beliefs, maybe travel. It's definitely not a good idea to travel when Mercury is in Sagittarius and it's retrograde. I definitely wouldn't advise it. However, if you are traveling, maybe you're going home for the Christmas season or whatever, then just go and get it done, because I personally wouldn't cancel plans because of a Mercury retrograde. So there are some nice aspects with this retrograde. It goes retro, sextile Venus, and trine Jupiter. So what I see is this review period that gets us to a place of Jupiter and Venus, the lesser benefic and the greater benefic in astrology, both connected to wealth. Actually, using traditional astrology, Mercury was the planet of finances. So you could look at this as a way to improve money, but to improve the overall enjoyment of your life. Now, I always say that if we have got off our path, the path that we were kind of destined to have in this lifetime, retrogrades are a time when things will fall apart to get you back on the right path. So if you do have change, even sudden change that happens, then try and embrace that. And don't look to go back to your old way of life because something has become out of balance. This Mercury retrograde period is a great time for some kind of realignment. So the retrograde is most intense right at the beginning and right at the end. Okay, so tomorrow, tonight might be a bit intense and into the next couple of days. And then right at the end for, a good couple of days, right before the retrograde ends, it's going to become intense and probably a bit more difficult again. But this is all about reviewing Jupiterian things, your spiritual path. Is it authentic? Are you on the right one? Your beliefs, you may question those existing beliefs as Mercury starts to transit through Sagittarius. So this Mercury retrograde starts making a conjunction to a fixed star called Phaeaces. Now, this is on a global level that I'm describing this with. And I'm not being negative, but this is an interpretation that is thousands of years old and has withstood the test of time. So I'm not trying to be negative here, but there are some events that could possibly happen under this retrograde. But on a personal level, it's not going to be very bad at all. But this fixed star, it's connected to violence. Okay. One thing that happened, and I'm pretty sure this was last night, but there was an occultation of a particular star by an asteroid, which was very strange. And it caused the star, Betelgeuse, to be become invisible for like 7 seconds. And I didn't notice it. It was actually my friend that pointed it out to me. And she asked, well, is this an omen about something? And I thought, quite possibly, because the star is connected to royalty and leaders. Now, with that strange event happening, and then we also have this other star, Phaeaces, which is connected to like assassinations and violence. I don't know, but maybe something might happen with a global figure, a well-known figure. Not sure. Hopefully not. But it's my job to kind of piece things together and tell the truth. So yes, we could have a few weird things going on. Now, as Mercury retrograde goes back into Sagittarius, there are a couple of dangerous fixed stars that it will cross over. Some of these stars in tropical Sagittarius, but they fall into different sidereal constellations, are a bit dodgy. So on a personal level, especially as Mercury is retrograde over Christmas, you do want to avoid inflammatory people, dangerous situations, and take care when you're driving. Of course, all of that kind of common sense that we all should try to practice every day. So take the sherry bottle off Granny if she's causing a scene, and try not to drink yourself too much because Mercury actually makes a conjunction with Mars and a square to Neptune on December 27th. So the day after Boxing Day, or I think they call it St. Stephen's Day in the Republic of Ireland. But that is a day when people's tempers are going to be much shorter. There could be angry words, and alcohol is connected to Neptune. So stay away from that if it makes you volatile. Personally, I don't drink alcohol because it doesn't make me feel good. And well, I just don't like it. I think it really makes you like lower your, not to be new age, but it makes you kind of low vibe. But anyway, December 27th would be a psychic weather warning that I would put out. But this Mercury retrograde is very much tied up with the new moon in Sagittarius that we actually had today. So I made a voice clip about that on Substack. I'll leave the link below this video. So when Mercury goes into Sagittarius, please listen to that voice clip. That will give you the interpretation for that period. This period, for each of the signs, I am going to talk about the Capricorn influence. So the other thing that happens here that I noticed is that there is an opposition going on between Venus and Uranus, right? So this is exact on December 21st. Now, Venus is in Scorpio, Uranus is in Taurus. This opposition can absolutely make it more likely to have relationship problems because there's a sense of control with Venus and Scorpio, maybe a bit too much control. Venus and Scorpio also suffers a lot in love, but then there is this kind of unpredictable, sudden event that happens with the opposition to Uranus. So that is exact on December 21st. That is also a bit tricky. So be careful around that time. Try not to take anything to heart if it wasn't meant to be, insulting or anything like that, because Mercury retrograde is absolutely a time where we can get the wrong end of the stick so easily. That is going to be even more true on December the 27th, the day before as well, and the day after. Just be careful about that. But yes, there are some good things absolutely with this. We can get a stronger sense of where we want to be next year. What are your plans for the new year, especially in terms of your business, your finances, and so on? Because Capricorn is a sign connected to wealth and climbing the ladder. The animal for Capricorn is the mountain goat. So the mountain goat climbs to the top of the mountain. All of the other animals have fallen down, slipped, got distracted. And that mountain goat, no matter how slowly it goes, no matter how long it takes, it gets there in the end. So if there's a new project or a new plan, you can definitely get a lot from this Mercury retrograde in Capricorn to give you the kind of the longevity, the discipline, and the dedication that it takes to be successful at any point in your life. It takes hard work, setbacks, but that you just have to take that on the chin. So yes, very interesting new moon. And of course, this is the last Mercury retrograde that we have of the year, and it's the first Mercury retrograde that we have of next year. But it does look a little bit spicy. Those stars that are in this, tropical Sagittarius, they are connected to violence and danger, because I was talking about this on social media earlier, and I think I read something online that the most serial killers are actually Sagittarians. I don't know if that's true. I've never done a study on it, but it wouldn't surprise me, because if you look at the symbol for Sagittarius, it's actually an archer. It's the centaur with the bow and arrow in his hand, which is a weapon. So not all Sagittarians, in fact, most are not violent, of course, but it would not surprise me if that thing about serial killers was actually true. In particular, some of those stars are kind of dangerous and deadly. And I do not put a New Age spin on anything. I take my interpretations from the ancients, because forewarned is forearmed. We have a lot of research to back these interpretations up, whereas New Age seems to be made up on the spot just to please people. Candy coating. I don't believe in that. So yes, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But let's talk about the signs individually. Please listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and moon sign in that order of importance. The rising sign is the most important for these kind of general forecasts that I do. And if you're not sure about that, you need your time of birth. You can go to a great website called astro.com, plug in your birth data with your right time, the exact time, not 10 minutes off, and you will get your rising sign. So for Aries people, the Mercury retrograde is happening in your 10th house. This is about your career. It's about your job. It's also about your reputation. So you could have a bit of a tricky situation to deal with in work, and you may want to go off to pastures new. You may have a business idea in mind. So it may initially be a little bit uncomfortable for you, but as Mercury goes back into Sagittarius, it starts to make a trine to your particular sign. And actually, instead of being worse, it probably is going to get a bit better for you, in particular, after January. So the 10th house is also about your reputation. So it's possible that some people could have a bit of gossip going on, a little bit of, in terrible cases, it could be a smear campaign, but hopefully not. So for Taurus people, Mercury is going retrograde in your 9th house. This is about your beliefs. What do I believe in? What is my spiritual path? You're definitely going to be questioning that a little bit more over this Mercury retrograde. It's not a good time for you to travel because the 9th house is connected to foreign lands and foreign people. And Mercury retrograde is notorious for making things go wrong that you didn't expect. So the 9th house is also about your higher education, higher knowledge. It doesn't have to be a university course. It doesn't have to be something that you pay for. It can be the knowledge that you use to educate yourself with when you're lying in bed at night. But you're going to be stimulated on some level that is going to give you this lust for knowledge. For Gemini people, Mercury is going retrograde in your 8th house. So this could be about your partner's finances. The 8th house is about joint money, shared bank accounts. It can also be about inheritance and mortgages and things and credit cards. So you could have some issues with these initially. And yeah, it may absolutely, you could have some small problems that pop up when Mercury goes back into Sag because it's lighting up your relationship house. So the 8th house stuff initially does tell a story about some issue with your partner. Maybe they're spending too much. Maybe they're being reckless with money. The 8th house is also about your sex life. So don't be surprised if it's a bit slow for a while as Mercury goes retrograde through there. On the plus side, the 8th house is about the occult, any learning that you do with that, any rituals that you do, and so on. You could also get a much deeper understanding about your own psyche and behavior. For Cancer people, Mercury is going retrograde into your 7th house. So this is your spouse, your husband, your wife, your live-in partner. It's a deeply committed relationship. You might have a few issues there, but that is part of life. No marriage, no long-term relationship is ever completely happy all the time. It's so unrealistic to think that. Also, no one person will ever complete you. And when I say one person, I mean, yes, of course, you should be completely faithful, but you also need to have some other things in your life separate from them, separate interests, if it's healthy, whatever it is. And that's normal. Hollywood has given us this terrible, unrealistic idea of what relationships should be. So try and move away from that. But by the end of the retrograde, things will have improved. You'll have a much better idea of where you're standing with that person. And absolutely, you can have a breakthrough at the end of January when this is done and dusted. For Leo people, Mercury is going retrograde in your 6th house. This is about your health, any illnesses or ailments that you have. It's also about the kind of boring, monotonous routines of daily life. So one thing to do would be plan healthy eating, healthy lifestyle. Try not to go overboard when it comes to all of the Christmas stodge that everyone loves to eat and stuff their faces with. You could find that you have some stomach issues going on, or some other small ailment from overindulgence. Now, the 6th house, you could have a schedule shake up in work. And the 6th house is also about pets, pigs, cats, dogs, whatever you have at home. There may be some small issue with them initially. So for Virgo people, Mercury retrograde is starting in your fifth house. If you have any children, they may be behaving badly or acting up. Maybe they've eaten too many sweets and they've got a sugar rush and they're doing all kinds of crazy things over Christmas. But the fifth house is also about your creativity. If you're a Virgo who is creative, and I mean creative by making videos, painting, drawing, even business ideas, they need creativity to get off the ground, but you will be thinking about a lot of different things over this retrograde, coming up with some really fantastic ideas that you can then put into place after the end of January. So for Libra people, Mercury is going retrograde in your fourth house. The fourth house is about your home, it's about your family. So you could have possibly some issues in your physical dwelling, your home, or you could have some kind of back and forth, maybe with the people that live there, or you could have some strange news about a person in your family. It is a classic time for you, Libra, that you would have some minor miscommunications with family members. You know, it is Mercury retrograde after all. It is the silly season when people have sugar rushes and hangovers and all of that stuff, which yeah, they're not as careful as they normally might be with those things. So for Scorpio people, Mercury retrograde is happening in your third house. This is all about your neighborhood, the people that live in your immediate environment. And you might bump into someone that you haven't seen for a while. You could have communication issues with neighbors, or it may not be that. You may just have some more interactions with them that you wouldn't normally have. So you would need to be careful about your vehicle, your car, because the third house is about how you get around, your transport. If that funny light has been coming on for a while and you don't know what that means, you might want to go and get it checked out before Christmas, as it could get worse over the retrograde. If you have brothers and sisters, you might also hear something about them or get into contact with them, perhaps, if you haven't heard from them or spoken with them in a while. For Sagittarius people, Mercury is going retrograde in your second house, and that's all about your money, your personal resources. Maybe you are fed up with the way that you have been earning money for a while. Maybe you feel like in your job, you're not getting the appreciation that you need, or even the satisfaction that you need. So you're going to be thinking about ways in which you can increase your income by doing something different. And of course, when Mercury retrograde goes back into Sagittarius, that's going into your first house, your identity. You're going to emerge from this as a totally different person, but you're not going to see the end results until the end of January. It looks positive for you. Sagittarius is a lucky sign, and you're going to be feeling intensely motivated, in particular with Mars in your sign over the coming weeks. Just try not to throw caution to the wind and get involved with something while Mercury is retrograde, but also without really thinking it through. Sagittarians have this lovely thing where they are so positive and optimistic that they just know that it's going to work out for them. It usually does, but not always. So you would need to be careful with that. So for Capricorn people, the retrograde is starting off in your first house. This is about your identity. What kind of person are you? What are you doing for a living? And you will be questioning that. You'll be questioning the success that you have in your life, how hard you're working. Maybe there's a new project that you're going to get off the ground. Jupiter is trining your sign until next May. So that's increasing your luck. It's increasing your chances of abundance. But during this retrograde, you're definitely going to be reconsidering a few things and coming up with a better plan. And as Pluto is leaving your sign, briefly, it is going to go back into Capricorn once more, I think, but you will have the pressure off you for a while because Pluto was hammering you for many years. So for Aquarius people, Mercury is going retrograde in your 12th house. The 12th house is about solitude. It's about places that you go to that are away from other people. Now, it's also about the quality of your sleep, your dreams, and any kind of rituals, meditation that you might do. Also, your magical life is going to really improve. So this is a time for you, Aquarius, where you would need to take a rest and have some downtime away from other people. Please do that because it is important for you, because things are going to get busy for you in the new year. But from now in January, you need to take it down a notch and take it a little bit more slowly. The 12th house is also about enemies, hidden enemies. And you definitely could become aware that a person that you trusted or you thought that you knew well, they might have different motives. So do be careful about that. But in particular, you can do some rituals, connect with your ancestors, connect with various gods or goddesses in a kind of magical and spiritual setting. And that is really going to help you a lot. So finally, for Pisces, this retrograde is starting in your 11th house. That is all about groups of people. It's about people that you choose to hang out with, friends, organizations, societies. So there could be a bit of drama here for you, in particular when Mercury goes back into Sagittarius, because it will be square your sign, which is a difficult aspect. There could be drama here. There might be some upsets with groups that you are a member of, some kind of like politics or whatever. In particular, people having different beliefs is highlighted here. But by the end of that, you will be in a much better position in terms of any groups that you belong to. There is an opportunity that you might meet some friends that you used to be close to in the past. They could pop up again. And lastly, the 11th house is connected to any dreams or hopes that you have about your future. There may be some long-term goal or plan that you really want to be a part of your life. And the opportunity absolutely is still there. But over this retrograde period, you might discover that you need to put in a little bit of extra work. So that is my analysis, guys. Try not to worry too much. Just make sure that you take what I say into consideration. And regardless of what the astrology is doing, I really wish you all a really magical Yule. I hope it is a fantastic one, and all the best for the new year.